Greetings from the illustrious and exquisite studio of Lifestyles Digital Media Group, Studio 124. My name is Tehvonni Clarke, and I am your host for the leading business podcast, Innovators and Impact. This episode is nothing short of impactful, entertaining, and insightful. Our guest is a multifaceted, talented man. He is a high achiever, and his biggest attribute is that he has a big heart. I am nonetheless talking about the esteemed, distinguished Edison Sumner. Hi, Edison. How are you doing?
Hello. I'm fine. Yeah, you made my day.
Aw,
Yeah.
that's what I try to do.
Thank you.
Thank you for being on the show. I'm really excited to have this conversation with you.
My pleasure, and I'm looking forward to the talk.
All
Yeah,
right.
should be fun.
So, Edison, I've met you once at a conference that you were speaking at, and this is my second time meeting you in person.
Well, good to meet you again.
Yes. For those who did not get the chance to meet you, give us a little background or just, a brief history about your professional career.
Yeah. So thank you again
Yes.
for this invitation. I'm excited to be here speaking with you. So just sort of my life in a capsule, right?
Yes.
I'm an island boy at heart. I was born in Nicholstown in North Andros
Nice.
several years ago, and had my early education there until I was about 5 years old, and then migrated to New Providence, where I of course, was here since then. Went through primary school here, became head boy of my primary school, went to all grade schools here in Nassau, graduated government high school, went to COB at the time after graduation, and then worked my way through school because I needed to work, right? Because we didn't have any money. I didn't come from a wealthy background.
Yes.
Later in life, while still as a young man, I got married, and 2 years or so after getting married, a few years after getting married, is when I had the opportunity to go off to school.
Yeah.
So I went to school in London, did my formal education there, and I've had several stints in colleges and universities since to just improve myself. That led to me becoming a professional. So my professional career really started in the insurance industry, where I was employed first as what they call a claims adjuster.
Yeah.
And then that migrated into me being involved in the financial services industry, where I had, several roles and responsibilities there, rising to the ranks of being CEO of a company, and you're dealing with portfolio management, wealth management, and the rest of it. And one thing led to the next. And then I became very involved in business, starting and establishing several businesses in the country. And that evolved into so many other things until it led me in my journey as a professional to the Chamber of Commerce in 2013, where I served about 6 years or so as the head of that organization. I've also had the privilege to serve, and still do, on a number of boards and committees in the country, where I'm able to contribute towards economic development, national development for the country in whatever small ways that I've been able to do so.
Yeah.
And then that, of course, evolved even further from being the senior or chief advocate for the business community and the private sector, to now becoming what I call the senior humanitarian advocate, right? Being in charge of the Bahamas Red Cross Society. So my journey through my professional life has been varied. It has allowed me, though, to become a bit of an expert in certain areas, right? And develop my skill sets in certain areas, whether it has to do with business, with sustainability, national development, strategic planning and direction, business advisory, etc. So my diverse background in all of these different spheres has given me the ability to do what I'm doing today. And then to cap it off, also have some engagement in the diplomatic space,
Yes.
where I serve as the honorary consul for the Republic of Namibia in the Bahamas. And that has given me also a tremendous amount of exposure to international politics, international relations, and also in the space of international trade facilitation as well. So it's very, and that's in the capsule.
Yes.
If you want to get into detail, we'll be here for the next 4 hours. But that's my life in the capsule.
Yes.
It's also And I would be remiss if I didn't say that a part of my professional journey is not only with professionalism as far as the professions are concerned, but I'm also
Yes.
very heavily involved in the cultural community as well in music. And I've been doing music since I was like 7 years old. And I've been doing music in what I call a semi-professional way now for the last 35 or so years. So, and it keeps me grounded and it keeps my life interesting. And so it's
Yes.
not this one trick pony, it's multidimensional.
See what I mean? I said talented, multifaceted, and a big heart. All of those things that you just listed
Yeah.
is talking about giving back to the community and just being present in the culture that is the Bahamas.
Yes,
And I
indeed.
love that. We need more people like that who are taking all of their skills and talents and combining it just to make the Bahamas a better place.
Yeah, but I do
And
my small part.
yes, you
Yeah.
do your big part. It's nothing small.
Yeah.
So Edison, speaking of the Red Cross, do you care like okay, the Red Cross is a name that's been thrown around since I was in school,
Yeah.
right? So do you care to give what is the Red Cross and the work that you guys are doing?
So the Red Cross has become a new passion of mine, right?
Yes.
I'm ordinarily passionate about business, about national development, economics, and the rest of it. But the Red Cross has given me almost a new lease on my
Yeah.
viewpoint of what the Bahamas is, because it does so much for so many people. Before getting into the Red Cross, like most young people, you hear about the Red Cross, you see the Junior Links program, you see the kids walking
Yes.
around with the red ribbon tied around their necks, and you see them parading on Remembrance Day to the parades. But for many people, that was as far as they went with their knowledge of the Red
Yeah.
Cross. Having joined the organization and then having been elected to the highest office in the organization, you get to see so much more of what the Red Cross is and what the
Yeah.
Red Cross does. So the Red Cross is the senior, or in fact, the only humanitarian organization in the Bahamas that is an auxiliary to the government. What that means is that we're not just an NGO, right? As people would see us, we're not just a civil society type organization. We are an auxiliary to the government, which means that we support the government and all of the humanitarian efforts, whether it has to do with social services and welfare, whether it has to do with disaster management and preparedness recovery, whether it has to do with dealing with the most vulnerable people in our communities, the Red Cross is there. We are there feeding people every day. We are there as the first responders in the event of a natural disaster in the country. In our view, it's always about the hurricanes, or even in some cases, responding to some of the community issues that happened, for example, with the fires in the Family Islands that we've experienced in the last year or so.
Yeah.
The Red Cross has been called upon to respond. And in the case where there's a hurricane and there has to be, say, shelter management, the Red Cross is there to manage the shelters along with the government, with the Department of Social
Yeah.
Services. So the organization is a part of a much bigger body. We are members of the International Federation of Red Cross and
Yeah.
also the International Committee of the Red Cross. These are two of the same international groups, but they have different focal points, right? So, for example, the International Federation of Red Cross, IFRC, is there to respond to disaster risk management, or responding to disasters. The International Committee of the Red Cross, ICRC, is there to respond to conflict resolution. So, where you have, for example, wars, civil unrest, the International Committee responds, but when you have natural disasters like hurricanes, floods, etc., earthquakes, the International Federation is there to respond. It's a kind of work that really is ultimately gratifying. Of everything else I've done, this is the kind of work that really feels that it has real purpose. I felt that way with the Chamber of Commerce in working with the business community, but this one in the Red Cross really allows us to touch the lives of individuals, not just corporate Bahamas. And that's what I love about the work that we do.
Trust me, I could see the passion and dedication there. Like, you seem so knowledgeable about the Red Cross's history and just the different elements that encompass the Red Cross as a whole. Like, I did not know all that the Red Cross really does because,
Yeah.
again, most Bahamians view it as just a little parades, we have
Hmm.
the junior links and everything, because
Yeah.
that's what you're introduced to.
Right.
But the Red Cross is so much more than that. Now, Edison, being president of the Red Cross, what are some other initiatives that you want to implement to make the Red Cross more known and illuminated?
Yeah.
What do you plan to do in your presidency?
I'm glad you asked that question.
Yes.
We don't have enough time for all of it, but I will tell you some of the top priorities. So, one of the things, first, as I mentioned, I want to illuminate the presence of the Red Cross in the minds of people, right? We want to let people know and see and feel what the Red Cross is doing. So we've already begun, and thanks to my friends at Lifestyles Media, who has been very helpful in helping us to craft that message, get more access into the social media spaces. So Lifestyles has been doing a tremendous job on that front with us. So thank you guys for that. And then what we want to do is I want to branch out into our family islands more. Right now, we've got a full Red Cross Center in Freeport. We've got a presence in Abaco, but we've got 16 more other populated islands in the country where there isn't a full Red Cross presence. So what I'm hoping to get to accomplish during my term is that we are able to develop our presence on the family islands in a more substantive way, where we actually are now going through a process of acquiring properties on these islands, whether it's land or acquiring buildings that we're able to convert into Red Cross headquarters on the islands, right? And if anyone asks you in our organization, what is one of my major priorities, it is that I want to see a Red Cross flag planted on every island in the Bahamas, right? Whether it is staffed by one person with volunteers working or staffed with 10 people, to see a flag planted on every island so that, when in the event of a disaster or some other exigency, people would know where to go, right? Rather than trying to figure out is there presence, is there help here, they can look to the Red Cross flag, which in itself represents a beacon of hope that they can then go into a Red Cross Center on any island in the country and get the kind of service and attention that they need. And then we are now about building our capacity, building our youth part of we have a very dynamic youth program led by Mrs. Catherine Lockhart. And we're looking to strengthen our youth program so that more kids in schools can wear that red bandana, right? More kids in primary and high schools can become more aware of what we're doing in the Red Cross and get excited about working and helping in our community. So we're working on that, and of course, we have some administrative issues that we're working through. For example, this idea of establishing a national, international humanitarian law committee that we've made some recommendations to the government on. And there's also this move to establish the International Federation of Red Cross to have an actual physical presence in the Bahamas. If that happens, then we'll be way ahead of many other countries and our own national society in being able to access that level of administrative support within the country. Those are just a few of the things that we're working on. We are working, of course, on an internal administration process to streamline our operations, to improve the efficiency of our operations, and I'm very pleased with the progress we're making in that regard. And I think that by the end of my first tenure, which is 2 years at a time, that I'm expecting to report back to our membership and to our volunteers, our international partners, that we have made significant improvements in the way we operate the Red Cross, so that more people can have confidence in what we're doing. And to be very transparent with this conversation, it is also to ensure that the persons who used to be involved with the Red Cross and who've left us for whatever reason, that they are now inclined to return to the Red Cross to continue providing their service, because they are now seeing that we have improved not only in the facade of the Red Cross, meaning what we do public facing, but that the operations of the Red Cross have also been significantly improved. that's my job, and we're getting it done.
At Lifestyles Digital Media Group, we specialize in creating compelling corporate content that enhances your internal and external communication efforts.
Our clients come from a cross-section of industries such as banking and finance, healthcare, insurance, and many more.
At Lifestyles Digital Media Group, excellence is the standard.
Our highly skilled and passionate team knows how to produce content that will resonate with your audience and significantly boost engagement rates.
Let us help you tell your story, connect with your audience, and achieve your business goals.
The team here at Lifestyles Digital Media Group would love to help you get seen, be heard, and make an impact.
Trust me, I believe in you. I believe that you can do it. Now, to add to that, what are some strategic partnerships that you are forming to help aid this huge initiative that you're taking with the Red Cross?
So one of our most significant local partnership, I should say that our most significant national partnership is with the government. We are an auxiliary to the government. We support them in a lot of work that they do. So we've got senior members of the government as a part of our executive committee, or essentially the board for the Red Cross. So we have engagements directly with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Ministry of Social Services, which is probably our biggest government partner. And I want to thank the minister and PS and others there, and the Director of Social Services for all the work they do to support the work of the Red Cross. Education is there. The Ministry of Health and Wellness, also a significant partner of ours, along with a number of other government agencies. So our most important strategic partner locally is the government, all right? And then, of course, we are always engaging with our corporate Bahamas, because they are the ones who support us financially in many ways. Either it's being able to give financial support to the Red Cross, or they're providing us with bodies, all right? So that when we have events at the Red Cross and we need to expand our volunteer base, we would have many of our corporate citizens who would send their whole team down to the Red Cross, right? And say, hey, we need, send, whether it's an accounting firm, a law firm, students from schools, they just come and they help us out. And I must single out some of the bigger corporate citizens who've really been there in our corner supporting us very, very adamantly. Has been people like Bahamas, who came to our rescue so many times in supporting the work that we do, and other major corporate citizens. So government, corporate Bahamas, but we, and also on an international basis, maintaining our strong relations with the International Federation of Red Cross and Red Crescent movements, being fully engaged with our regional counterparts, right? Where, regional meaning within the Americas, that is the Caribbean and Latin American markets. We're very engaged with them. I attend meetings frequently for regional meetings. I'm heading over back into Panama in another week or so to attend other meetings of the presidents of the Red Cross for the region. So we have to maintain those relationships there. But the biggest emphasis on support structure when we look at partnerships has to be our volunteers, because these are the unsung heroes, right? These are the people who give up of their time willingly. There is no compensation involved. I'm the president of the Red Cross. I don't make $1. In fact, the Red Cross gets more money out of me than they put into me, right? But then that's a part of I took on the role. So I know my assignment. I understand my assignment. But we have to always be mindful of the engagement of our volunteers, because without volunteers, the Red Cross would not exist. And our dedicated staff is one thing, right? And I must praise our staff, because they work under some very tenuous circumstances a lot of times. They work under a lot of challenging circumstances a lot of times, and they stick it out, right? They're still there working because they understand the assignment that we have to be there to meet the needs of the community. But I want to emphasize strongly that it's very important for us to always be mindful of the work of our volunteers. And if any of them are listening and watching this now, and I'm sure that a lot of them would be, I want to thank you very much for your support. Thank you for your dedication. Thank you for your commitment. Because without you as a volunteer for the Red Cross, we would not be where we are, and we cannot do what we're doing.
Thank you, Edison. Now, before we close, because that's all the time that we have for today. This
Yeah.
conversation has been really insightful and it's really opened my eyes. But do you have anything else that you would like to add to this episode just to close?
Well, first, I want to thank you again for being a
Yes.
fantastic host.
Aw.
Thank you very much for that. It's been a wonderful conversation. I want to thank Lifestyles Media with your team here for this invitation to be a part of this conversation. I think it's very timely. And I believe that this podcast, meaning your whole podcast series, is going to go far, right? And I'm excited to be a part of that. But I also want to re-emphasize the work of the Red Cross, and I want to thank all of those persons who've been working with us, our volunteers, our staff, our sponsors, our donors. These are all very important to the ecosystem that we operate within. And without all of these elements coming together, the Red Cross will be just another organization. But we're not just another organization. We are the Bahamas Red Cross, right? We are the ones wearing the red vest with the cross on its back. We are the ones who are the first responders. We are the ones out there running into the fires to rescue people. We are the ones who are risking our personal safety going to rescue people after hurricanes, right? We are the ones who are out there every single day except the weekend, feeding hundreds of families across this country every single day. And it happens without fail, right? If anyone who is out there who wants to contribute towards the Red Cross financially, please come and talk to us. We are always open to the partnership. If you don't have the money and you can dedicate time, then bring your time. We'll take that as well. Or you may have other resources you can provide us with. But the Red Cross needs every bit of help it can get, whether it's from the government, corporate society, donors, sponsors, and the rest of it. We're always engaging with those kind of conversations. And it will be great to have that level of our partnerships expand. And one of the things I want to pride myself on when I'm done is that we'll be able to bring in more people to our fold as both sponsors, donors, volunteers, and other corporate stakeholders.
Right. And to help aid that, where can people find the Red Cross online?
So it's you can find us online we're on all the social media pages. We're on Facebook at the Bahamas Red Cross. We are on Instagram under the same caption. You can find us physically on John F. Kennedy Drive, just before you get to the Fusion Superplex area. You can reach out to us via email at info@thebahamasredcross.org. Or just come into the office, right? There's always someone there who is able to entertain you, who is able to have a conversation with you. And if you can't reach them, call me, right? 801-1044. That's the only number I got. I don't have 4 and 5 numbers, right? I don't duck people, right? My number's always there. If you don't get through, call me back. But I want to engage people, and we're not afraid to have those conversations. So if you can't reach the Red Cross, just give me a call, and I'll be glad to direct people how they can get more involved.
Thank you, Edison. Again, we loved having you here. This conversation was very insightful and impactful.
Thank you.
All right, guys, that is all the time that we have for today. Tune in as we share the latest episode of Innovators and Impact, produced by Lifestyles Digital Media Group and the leading business podcast in the Bahamas. See you next time. Good night.